Hi, everyone. I'm here talking about Sirius Beings with Holly Wynn. She's an energy intuitive consciousness coach and mindset mentor at IamHollywynn.com. Welcome to Ascension and 5D Chat, where we discuss what is happening with our planet's ascension journey. I am Rachel Chamness. I help lightworkers connect to their spiritual helpers and light path.
Well, it's so good to be here, Rachel. Thank you so much. I'm very excited. Sirius just excites me.
I'm excited too. I'm just excited to be on here talking about star beings. I'm so excited to have you here. So you have had a lot of experience with the light beings from Sirius. So we are talking about the Sirius planet system. So it's a 3-planet system that we know of. Of course, not everything is what we think because we're in the 3rd dimension and many places are not. So that's what we know of. But you have a lot of experience with Sirius. So
Yeah. And it was kind of on accident, as a matter of fact. They just sort of came to me. I was used to working with different beings like Pleiadian, Arcturians, those type of frequencies. And it just sort of came through randomly one day as I was walking along. And so they were presenting different frequencies, and it was coming in forms of like these symbols. And so I kept thinking, like, man, am I like making this up in my mind? Is this like, you know what I mean? You start thinking like, but it was so specific. It wasn't like anything I've ever seen before. And so I thought, okay, this is just strange. It actually was happening, believe it or not. Now that we're talking about it, I completely forgot to put 2 and 2 together. But Rachel, it happened right after like the mass lockdown, for the COVID situation. What was that? 2 years ago now, I guess.
yeah.
Um, and we were in lockdown. So I was just walking in the neighborhood. I thought, I've got to get out of my freaking house. We're going to go nuts. And so I'm going to raise my vibe outside. And it would just kept coming to me on these walks. And I thought, man, like, really, I've got to get out more. And so I wasn't used to working with them that way. And so finally I asked my guides, I was like, so what is this? Am I supposed to like pay attention to this? They're like, well, yes, that's why it's coming to you. Why aren't you paying attention to it? Like, touche, like, I don't know why sometimes we need like these flashing, beaming lights at us to say, hello, here's your message.
Typical for
So
everyone, I think.
I think so too. I do. And so I sat down one night and was just like, it was almost like it just overtook me. And like I was painting all of these symbols. And my husband was sleeping in another room because he snores sometimes. He'll probably hate that I said that online, but he snores sometimes. And so he was in another room and he comes in and like I have all of these papers all over the place, like on the bed, on the floor, of like all these random symbols. And he was like, what happened? When I know fully, I'll let you know. And so it just sort of like organized itself. So then I would pick it up and like kind of tune into the symbol. And then I would get like what it was for. Like, okay, well, what does this represent? Right. Like we can all think about, we think of an apple and we know exactly what an apple is, right? We think of a heart. We know exactly what the heart represents. It represents love. And so they were sort of showing me in that same way. And one guide kind of stepped forward. And I guess my gatekeeper guide must have came in to sort of make that connection, so to speak, because I just never have connected with them before. So it was very odd for me. And, he's like, you're here to kind of like present these and to help folks anchor them in. And so I thought, oh, gee, this is fun, but also yikes, intimidating, like this is intimidating. I'm sure you probably felt the same way when you're like pulling in these beautiful sounds to deliver to folks and knowing that that's going to leave them with, some type of activation or healing of some type, and how do you explain that to someone that doesn't know, how do you explain that?
That's very similar to how I get things too. Sometimes they give me like pieces and then I'm just like, what do I do with this? And then I just look at it for a while and then I'm like, oh, and then it starts to come in.
Yeah.
And I've gotten symbols before. I mean, I get lots of symbols, but I've had symbols before where I was just like, what is this? Or it took like right now I'm getting a symbol from Sandalphon. He's giving me this symbol and it's been like 2 weeks and I still don't have the whole thing. And sometimes he has me like, I try to draw it and he's like, you have to look up this symbol. You have to look up this. And so it's like, I have to go look this up. I have to learn about this and like come back to it. And so I totally get it's interesting, I think, because I don't know if people realize that the way that we receive information is not always just like a movie. It can be
Right.
different. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good explanation, and I don't know if you see them sort of similarly, but it was almost like, you just kind of like, okay, if you think about a memory and you get that image in your head, right? Like you can think back to, oh, when you're a kid and you were maybe like eating ice cream with your parents or a friend or whatever. So like you have that memory, but it's not like you're seeing it outside your eyeballs. And so that's how it was sort of
Yeah.
coming in. So I was like, well, what the heck? And so I was like, oh, whatever. And I don't know why we don't pay attention. I don't know why we don't
I
pay.
know why.
I
It's
mean,
it's
geez.
because when we were kids, like everyone just told us we were over imaginative
Yes,
and
I heard that
dismissed
a lot.
all of the things that we were seeing. And
Yeah.
so like now we have to stop doing
Yeah,
that.
actually, that's interesting because I got that a lot. Like
Mhm.
you're overthinking, you're over imaginative, you're making things up. So then you think,
Mhm.
okay, I'm not seeing this. Or we go through self-doubt of like, well, why am I the special one? Why
Right.
do I get it? Like why do I get it if I haven't even worked with it? Why isn't some famous channeler like getting these things instead? But I don't think that they think of it that way, right? Like at least that's what is been presented to me. They don't see it in that way, right? Like if there's
No,
like
not at all. They're always like, "Why wouldn't you get it?
yeah,
We're all parts of the same." I think I just had a channel. I don't know if it's the masterclass that'll be posted or it's just posting this week, but they were saying, you're all part of the same light. You're all part of the same oneness with angels and everything else. And you've been an angel in a past life. You've been all these things. You're not just a mere human. Your
yeah,
soul is in this human body, but we're all lights.
yeah.
And it's all,
Interwoven.
so why not you? You came
Yeah,
here for a reason.
exactly. Why not you? And the other thing is, I see you put up the doubts of mediumship, and I want to just kind of like say something to this is that I think it's so important that we really pay attention to our intentions. I don't know if you ever fall into this trap, but I think sometimes we're like, yeah, I'm gonna like do all my intentions. And you like write them down. Like, you think that they're supposed to come through in like this very specific way that like you have preconditioned yourself to believe that they should. And I remember like I tied this to an intention and I didn't think it was gonna come in this way, but I was like, asking my guides like okay I want to open up further, like I really want to like amplify my ability to connect to other beings. Rachel, I completely forgot, like I completely even forgot that I had set that intention because this was like I don't know maybe 3 months later that this stuff was coming through and here I am like why is this happening to me? I asked for it.
That's right. Be
you know
careful what you
so,
ask for. Um,
yeah, so I think
Sometimes too, we go the other way where we don't make our intentions big enough because we don't think we can do that.
yeah.
And I think that's part of what we were talking about. What they're really, why are they here? What are they helping us with? They're helping us open up all these um, possibilities. I think that's a huge part of ascension. Like right now, we're really releasing all these beliefs that aren't true that we have adhered to our whole lives because we were told just
Mhm.
tons of all different kinds of things, about ourselves, about different kinds of people, maybe about money, about just all things. I mean, science too, of course. But with that, we have to open up our minds to everything that can be possible because most of the stuff that's coming to us in ascension is not in the realm of our thinking.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I know you and I kind of talked about this, but in a way to describe it, of like, why are they here? What are they here to help us with? And when we think of like here, it's not like he knocked on my door and was like, hello, I have something to present you, you know, wasn't like that at all. But it's almost like they have this ability to like send or like transmit their level of consciousness in sort of like a way that we can either trans channel it, just like you're kind of the master of that, but like allowing that level of consciousness to come through you using your language to transcribe, if you will, the particular frequencies that they are offering. And so I think that there's such a variation to how it's received that I don't know. I just feel like that it can be so many things, that it's not just for us to have an experience of more of our light, or even like, remember the heart chakra. I know that you even taught about this in one of your classes, is that, they're here to help us heal a lot of these heart wounds. And what I've been getting is that they're here to really like disrupt the band in which we've been connected to, almost like the collective wound and the cultural wounds, because
Oh
we
my
very
gosh, yes.
yeah, because we've been very interlocked in that. And so to really disrupt that pattern, because all it is a pattern, it's all energy. But if the pattern continues to repeat, then it becomes stronger. And the more of us that plug into it, amplify it. But
Yes.
so if you think about it in reverse, the more of us that can unplug it, it disrupts the pattern so it's no longer the same. And so I believe that's why a lot of these frequencies are being offered to us, because they just haven't been available for us before, because we've been like operating in either a particular level of consciousness, and we've all just like plugged into the same thing because it's just what you do, right? That's like the social norm or what have you. It's the way you were raised, it's generational beliefs, it's a value system, it's a belief system, whatever. We can go on and on about it, but at the same time, it's like it really does take us like, okay, we're going to step out of this, we're going to use something else, we're going to use something else. And now that they're like, hey, here it is available, then it kind of takes us having that ultimate radical responsibility and accountability to say, I'm going to choose it, and I'm going to choose it bravely, and I'm going to choose it strongly, and I'm going to choose to anchor it, and it not necessarily be like this fleeting kind of thought energy. Sometimes you have like, oh, that would be a good thing to do, and then poof, it just like floats away.
Oh, please. I hate that.
You know what I mean? And you're like, "Oh, man, that sure was a good idea. Where did that go?" But it's like but that's how it kind of comes in, right? It comes in like very concise and concentrated, and it really does take us grasping it and, sharing it with others, or using it in our own space of embodiment. And it's just through everyday things. We don't have to go around and like, I don't know, pretend like we're waving our magic wands or planting trees in places that they need to be planted, but just like day to day meaningful interactions with people. And I think that's really what allows the change to sort of be like, we could even use the word insidious, but in a positive nature, right? Like it's just like the air you breathe. So the frequencies are becoming that much more available, just like the air we breathe. So
Well,
that,
we all activate each other.
yeah,
Just hanging out with each other and talking, we activate each other in different ways. So they transmit to us, to all of us, or especially those of us who are connected to them in some way, or who are open to be connected to them. Because I'm not necessarily connected to them, but I am open to them. So they do come in, and actually they've been coming in a lot lately. So I think it has to do with, I think that helped me like realize that's what we should talk about. I think that's why they were coming in.
yeah,
But I feel like they send you a message, like you're saying, could be a movie, could be a symbol, could just be a thought. And even if that thought goes out, like you're saying, it'll cycle back. It's like sometimes you get that idea, it's gone. Then you're like, I know I had a great idea, it's gone. And then later, when the time is right, it comes back. Then you're paying more attention, right? I'm not going to forget this time. I'm going to
yeah,
write this down. I'm going to think about this. This is coming to me for a reason, that sort of thing. And um, I just wanted to say that when they came in for that month of tag for my tag community, they came in for a month. They were working on, like you were saying, healing heart, the high heart, but also on helping us with communication through telepathy.
yeah,
So it kind of made me think of that the way you were talking about it. It's like a lot of it is telepathic. I mean, with most light beings, it is, but I feel like okay, yeah, they're saying yes. I feel like the way that they give us the information specifically is to help us learn to be telepathic, because in 5D we will be. So it's kind of like they're helping us open it, and it may not be fully open, but it's like they're laying the groundwork so that we can get to it faster once it starts to come in, or we start to get used to it.
You know
That's
what?
what I think.
That actually makes a lot of sense, because remember when I told you, I was like, well, sometimes it's not necessarily like a full trance, and it's not that I necessarily hear them. It's like almost like if you imagine just like opening up a cookie jar and they just like dump it in, right? They just like dump the little thought in, and then like the thoughts there, like I'll know something, but I may not be in like full trance like you teach,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And so I'm like, so the way you just described that, that's exactly what it is, right? Because that would be telepathy. If I'm like picking up on like, ooh, I know what Rachel's thinking, I'm not going to trance you, right? I'm just going to like have that knowing that that thought transmission is there or something, and then know what it is. So maybe that's exactly it. I love
I
that you
think
said
so.
that.
And I mean, we get when you can open all of your clairs, you get information in so many different kinds of ways that it becomes where you're not sure how it came in. Did I just know that? Did I hear the word? Did they sometimes what is that where they type the word in your head where you like see the letters? Which one is that? That could be clairvoyance, that could be clairaudience, that could be claircognizance. I don't even know.
It could be
But
like all of them.
yes. I feel like, whatever works. For me, because I've opened them so much, each one of them, they kind of mesh all together. And then I'm never sure if I can call it just one.
Yeah, yeah, that's so interesting. And I guess that's why when they came in, the way that they came in for me too, it's like I would just have to sit there quietly to see, okay, what is this supposed to be? And it was like a very quiet week. It really was such a quiet week because I didn't really look into anything at all. It was just like sitting with the energies, asking what was supposed to come through, and it was there. And so it was like the ultimate. And here was the other thing too. I forgot about this. What they were going to help us with is like that fluid trust with inside of ourselves, right? Because that goes back to the doubts of mediumship. We tend to doubt what we get, and so to just be in that solid space, and they help you with that trust and the surrender. And I think that that's something that we're all retraining ourselves on. At least I know I have throughout my lifetime, is like, what is trust? And being
It's so important. It's
mhm,
really important part of everything I teach. I've come to realize the most important part is helping people really learn to trust themselves. And I've been working all kinds of ways to help people with that because it's really the hardest part.
it is.
Because we're so we've just been so blasted with like you're making it all up that now it's like it's a story in our heads that it's a habit story too where we have to start saying I'm not making it up. I tell my medium students to like just blind trust, like what would happen if you just trusted every single thing you get for a week, and if you're wrong, okay, fine, then you're wrong, big deal. Just trust everything and see what happens. And
That's such good advice. That's
it's a good
really good
exercise.
advice. I love that. Because I think that's exactly what was happening too. And plus I didn't have a whole lot of, distractions or anything going on
I
because
was gonna say, like, what a perfect time. You had
I
no
know.
distractions. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I really feel like that shut down, whether it was, right or not, or people were upset about it, or, whatever your thoughts on it, whether it was done by the dark, but light still finds a way. Light
Yeah.
came in, and many people said, "Oh, I hate my job. And now that I'm still, I realize it." People found stillness. And that
Yeah.
was profound, I think, for most people.
Oh yeah. I think so too. I know for me, I mean, that was directly what it was. And I think we're still kind of like being steered back to that we've got to remember the goodness that came out of it. And oh, that's the other thing too, is that kind of like they're allowing us at least to have that availability of like opening up our lenses and being able to again see different probabilities and possibilities versus being like this laser focus on what's just directly in front of us, or even what we're being fed. Because guess what, if they're here to help like disrupt old patterning, of course they don't want you to plug right back into the same old patterning. And so it's like, all right, let's open up, and like what else could it be, like what else could actually be a probability or possibility for whatever it is. It doesn't even have to have anything to do with the corona thing, but just in your own personal life, right? Does it have to mean that you're no longer valuable, or you're not worthy, you're undeserving, no one likes you, all these kind of like core wounds that we always like revert back to, and we shy away from our fullest potential. And I think that's what a lot of these frequencies are helping us do, is really access those dormant layers of our own consciousness so we're able to amplify our personal potential. Because it's like, once we do it, then it almost like paves the way for others to do it. It's almost like, a lot of the light workers, or whatever you subscribe yourself to being, we're really the trailblazers, like we're the ones like kind of pioneering that new wave of light. And a lot of times, we may think, God, these people probably think we're nuts. So, if we're talking about this or that. But I mean, that's really how any information comes in, right? It's that cognitive dissonance of like, oh no, I've only known it this way. But new information comes in and it allows you to truly challenge old belief systems and truly challenge conditioning and programming. And so you get to access things that you no longer had access to. Like, you go maybe to the ice cream shop and a new flavor is there and you're like, ooh, that's never been available before. Like, I think I might want to try that and see
I
how I
love your ice
respond
cream
to it.
analogies.
Yeah. They kind of like come in these little images. So maybe they're offering it. I don't know. It could be me making it up. I have no clue.
No, of course not.
So
Well, I think
yeah.
it's really, this is a lot of confirmation for me in knowing that, or confirmation for you maybe too, because yesterday I did a big group healing. It was for personal sovereignty, abundance. Mainly, it was a big past life healing.
Yeah.
Everything that you just talked about, that is exactly what they were saying. They were saying that all of this, we have all these notions and collective consciousness ideas that are so wrong, and we have to heal to get past them so that we can see the new possibilities. It's exactly what you're saying. They kept bringing forth more ways that we are indoctrinated into slavery. A lot of it's past lives. There was like obvious labor slaves. And then they also indicated like different types of labor slaves, like body slaves, which is not sexual, but maybe like a strength thing. And then they talked about, of course, sexual slavery. They talked about love slavery. So they talked about past life and current life, whatever, but love slavery, where you have to marry someone, an arranged marriage, or which can come in all different kinds of ways, and not so bad to horrible, and things like where you feel like you can't disconnect from a past love that is really bad for you, horrible, but there's something there and you can't unhook. Have you ever had that happen?
Yes.
I, I've had that happen, and it was usually a past life that just needed clearing. And I do that for people too, that's
Yeah.
usually what it is. And they were talking about that. That's a type of like love slavery. So then they got into all this like past life or current life where someone used some sort of love spell or something that against your will, you should never do that. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
And things
Right.
like things like that. And then they talked about like, and then there was all this magic slavery, like where maybe it's just like a movie where you sold your soul to the devil to be a rock star, like something like that, where you gave up something of yourself to do something that benefited you personally. It was all only for you. That was the whole thing. All these kind of slaveries, they were self-serving, and how they really how we stay slaves to them. And of course, now we're all slaves to this ridiculous money system, which only benefits banks. And we basically have to work all the time just to, well, or most people do, to have food on the table and live somewhere, or you have to have had money. So one or the other, you either have to have money or you have to make it in some way.
Yep.
And and we just accept that, but that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Totally. And as you were talking, like it was coming through too, of almost like your healing that you did, it's anywhere and everywhere that there's been where your sovereignty has been compromised at any
Right.
part, right?
All of these
Because
things were linked to sovereignty.
right, because you didn't have access to that part of you. If your body was being used, if your strength was being taken, if your power was being taken, or if you were believing you couldn't do something without accessing dark energy or something versus using your light, right? Then it's just been compromised entirely. So it feels like they're bringing things back into like this harmonic state of being, to where again, the light trumps all. And I
Mhm.
love that. I think that's why I was just so attracted to it. And like when they were coming in, and I felt like so eager to tell people about it. And I know you are too. So I'm actually so excited to do your healing from yesterday because I donated.
Oh, yay.
And I saw it come through and I was like, oh, I can't wait. I know her healings are always so awesome. So
Thank
I'm
you.
very eager to do it.
And these are donation-based healings, and they're available on my website for all time and space. You can always order it if you're watching and you're interested. But they are, I really love them because they feel so necessary. Like they were really saying, this is, if we can just do this, if many people can do this, that's why I really don't care. People, whatever you can give if you want to do the healing, because the more of us that can get past this past life healing, the faster we're going to get to that part where we get released from this money slavery system, because that's definitely happening.
Yep.
It is happening, but I want it to happen like now.
Yes. I want it to happen like now.
I'm like so tired of why do we still have this? It's
Yeah.
crazy. And like, why do we feel like we need to beat the system? I mean, yeah, but I'd rather there just not be a system. In fact,
Yeah.
my little boy said to me, so what is it? Do you want to make money or do you want to abolish money? And I was like, well, I want to abolish money, but
Yeah.
as long as we have to play, I want to play.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like we're kind of being forced into the game, in
Yeah.
order to, for a variety of reasons, right? To basically survive for sure. But, and everything else is sort of attached to that. If you think about it, your success, your level of
Hmm.
fulfillment, your ability to provide, your ability to connect, your ability to experience the world. You got to pay to travel. You've got to have
What about
money to
health?
be able to take care of yourself properly. I mean, there's certain people that, probably could truly benefit from, different types of holistic health, but they're unable to, because
It's
it's,
the worst. I
you know,
feel that is one thing that makes me so mad is that there is regular food, which is full of toxins and not very healthy. And then organic food is too expensive for most people.
Mhm.
Well, I guess I say most people, but I feel like the average
Yeah.
American says, I'd love to eat better, but it's so expensive.
Yeah. Oh, I've heard that too. Absolutely. Yeah. I think that is sort of like it's more majority than not, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you know that all of this GMO food and all of the sugar, like high fructose corn syrup things, all of that stuff is subsidized by the government. So it's not that organic's more expensive, it's just not being subsidized by the government. So the government pays for a portion of this so that it's cheap.
Yeah.
So, but I say pay now or pay later
Yeah.
when it
Oh,
comes to
that's
eating.
that's actually a good slogan to think about. Like
Yeah.
really, that's a good thing to think about.
Health costs are high. So,
Yeah.
or pay with your misery, I guess.
Yeah. Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah. I believe that they're stepping forward for that too.
Yeah. Yep. I think so too.
Okay, well, I'm sure the next question is how can we connect to Sirius? So, of course, in my monthly group, we connect to different beings and I have an attunement there. But you actually have some things too, right
Yeah.
there.
So, I would say that obviously, if you've already have your, your inner band of your spirit guides or your, guardian guides or however you want to look at it, whatever feels right for you. But if you have like a particular guide that you're used to working with, I would say, kind of put that request out there because I think this is something we always forget, Rachel. Like we forget that we need to ask. We just
You
think
have to
that,
ask. Yes.
something's just going to pop in or show up. But even what I was talking about with my story earlier, I did ask. It was just like so many months prior, I kind of forgot that I asked. And so I deeply believe that it starts with pure intention
Yes.
and really getting yourself into a space of alignment. And I know you have so many things that you offer as far as putting up like a proper space to where you connect. And of course I
That's on
subscribe to
this
this
channel
same
too.
thing, and I
Yeah.
think you've got something on your channel as well if you
Yeah.
guys
It's
go through
called
that.
a sacred circle. So
Yes,
there's a
that's it.
video on that.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I could not think of the word sacred circles. So I highly advise doing that. So then you're very intentional on going into the space to connect into the highest vibrational beings. And what I've noticed is that there's a Syrian collective that I sometimes work with outside of my guide Henry that showed himself, but it's almost like they're not even one specific
They usually come
dimension.
in threes. At least I see them.
Really?
I always see
Okay.
them coming in twos or threes, and
Yeah.
they're very, very close together, which to
Yeah.
me signifies that they're collective.
Yes, exactly. That's
Mhm.
exactly how I see them. That's interesting. Kind of cool too. You get that confirmation. But
Yeah,
I would say, like, getting into that space of alignment and literally asking, and just you've cut the again back to that fluid trust, just being in the space of like, I'm just going to remove the what if I'm wrong, what if I'm not doing it right, all the what ifs, they got to go somewhere. Like, put them in a basket, set them aside, deal with it later. And getting yourself into the space to where you're excited. They love when you're excited. Like, that's what I've noticed. If you're eager and you're excited, they love it. And try not to make it something. Just be in a space of in a receptive mode. Like, if I
yes.
was to be like, oh, Rachel, I would really love a birthday gift from you, right? Like, I'm just going to be happy and excited and eager to receive your gift. And I'm not going to be like, well, she better get me a, stereo system or whatever, right? Like, I'm not going to like make it something. So I'm just going to be like, ooh, so grateful for what I'm going to get. And so, but I have to ask, right? I have to ask for that gift. And so, I would say just being in that space of quiet reflection. Meditation doesn't have to look perfect, but the
Exactly.
intention and the focus and whatever your motivational energy matters very much. And just ask, to connect to the Syrian highest vibrational collective that is in the highest and best alignment for your divine right order, and anything that's supposed to come through in that moment that is going to serve you, serve the greater good, and anything that you're, willing to open yourself up to receive for a good impact. And so that's kind of my go-to. And I wanted
That's
to
how I
kind of
would describe it. Yeah.
do what?
That's how I would describe it too. I would
Really?
just say, yeah, that's what I tell people, just ask, see if they'll come, If you
Yeah,
need help, you can get help with an attunement or something
sure.
like that, or speak with another medium to get some confirmation that what you got is right if you feel like you need that. But we should all be able to do that. It just
Yeah.
that, sometimes if you need help, you can get it.
Yeah.
And I think you're about to offer
Yeah,
that.
totally. And I know you're going to collaborate with me on this. But so these symbols actually turned into an oracle card deck because I was like, I've no idea how I'm supposed to like get the symbols out to people, the masses. It just kept going like to the masses, to the masses. Like, okay, like how is that going to happen? And so obviously it's turned into sort of like this activation technique and healing modality, which I use in my practices and things like that. But it also turned into an oracle deck. And so I wanted to share
I'm so excited about this.
the attune one with you guys. And so, I mean, there are like so many of these symbols.
I cannot wait to buy
There's
your
literally
deck.
this many. Yeah, I'm finishing up the book now, like the little guidebook, and a friend of mine channeled the art for the background. She's crazy talented, and she's connected with the
So
Syrians
great.
too, so it just sort of worked out. But today I wanted to share the attune symbol.
Nice.
And the way these really work is just centering yourself. And if you have your palms facing up, it is best, both palms on your lap and face them towards the ceiling. And just find your focus like drifting down to your belly. And then imagining kind of like your belly, your base, just opening up until you reach down and open up to the center of the earth and really link in. The purpose of these are to be anchored, not just to kind of look at to see them as pretty, but really to anchor in. And so it starts working with your own light body and your own internal coding system
Oh, I
to
really feel it.
activate what is dormant within. And a lot of people experience different things. But so I'm just going to go ahead and connect now, and I'm going to ask for the transmission to come through. And what I've noticed is this usually very quick, it's fast, and it's concentrated. And usually they enter in through the crown or the heart, and I'm getting like hot, like I'm literally sweating. So just let me know if you start feeling anything, Rachel.
Oh my gosh, I feel so much. Are you kidding?
um, it's just always so awesome to experience this. and just allow it to wash over you. And it really moves very quickly through any layers of your being. So anywhere that there's some type of stagnation, it just sort of disrupts. Again, it's like that pattern disruptor, if you think about it. It's an activation, deactivation sort of coding.
And I hear them saying, now we can connect to you in a different way, is what they're telling me now, because I am attuned to them. And they're
Good.
saying now it's like exactly what you're saying. There's more layers
Hmm.
and there's different ways to be attuned to beings, actually, which is something I needed to hear because there's something I'm working on that I was thinking, is there other ways to be attuned? And now they're telling me there is. So look at that. They're opening me up to new ideas.
That's so cool. I love that so much. That's so neat. Super, super cool. My legs always get tingly too with it. So anyone that wants to just concentrate on it, and I highly advise taking Rachel's tag because she has so much and it's just cool information and it just makes you
It's
feel more
fun.
connected to them, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah. I
Thank
hope you
you
guys
for
enjoyed
sharing
that.
that.
Sure. No problem.
Well, it's so great talking to you. I can't wait for your oracle cards to come out,
Yeah.
and when they do, I'll add them to this chat in the comments.
Okay, cool.
Um, and everyone can find you at IamHollyWynn.com.
Cool. Thank
And
you so much. This is just so fun. I could talk about this stuff all day,
me
and
too. It was so fun.
it's such a
Thanks for
pleasure.
coming.
I really appreciate you inviting me on.
Oh, I loved it. Thanks for coming. And everyone, check Holly out at her website because she also has, what did you tell me? You have
Oh,
all kinds
yeah.
of, you have a
I
free
have
resource library.
ton of free stuff. I love to obviously offer, private coaching and classes and things, but I deeply believe, just like Rachel, she's got so much stuff on this YouTube channel. And even in some of the free stuff with tag is like, you really want to be able to provide. So I've got a free resource library of a ton of trainings. And then also there's a separate meditation portal that has meditation, personal alignments, and a few activations. So it's all free. There's no strings attached. Just, pop in your email so you get the link so you can log into it. But it is on my website. And I think it says grab your freebie or something like that. So I should probably know that, but I'm sure my happiness director is going to get all over me about that. But if you just pop on there, you'll find it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Okay, everybody, please like and subscribe if you want to see more of these chats between intuitives. And we love you being here. So please comment and let us know what you think. And thank you, Holly.
Bye. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Do you hear that knocking?
No.
Weird. Okay.
Is it clairaudient? Maybe somebody wants to come in.
It's like literally when you're talking, I hear knocking. Okay, I'm
Let's see.
praying because it's like it's not all the time. It's like sporadic. And it's like if you're talking, I hear it, but then I don't even hear it when I'm talking. So I'm like, that doesn't make sense because you got the earphones in. So I don't know.